Secure the field. The order has gone out to two opposing forces, the foul, depraved forces of the undead, and the almost as foul forces of the orcs. The local necromancer has taken it upon himself to raise an army of halflings from beyond the grave to do battle alongside his existing forces. This has been taken as a slight against nature, which has led the forces of nature into an uneasy alliance with the orcs, after convincing them that this area was worthy of claiming. The undead are on their way here in order to secure a sacred site, hoping to raise the ancient halfling chef, Sausagemitts McVitie, and if they can bring him back from the dead, then the undead forces will be incredibly bolstered and the war against the orcs is as good as won. Therefore, the orcs were in no mood to disagree with the forces of nature when it came to this alliance. So in the secure the field scenario, each side selects one piece of terrain in the opponent's half, and that becomes one of the objectives for the game. This hill was selected after this house, so units that are within 3 inches of one of those at the end of the game will add their unit strength together to see who comes out on top. One of these sites rumoured to contain the bones of legendary Sausagemitts McVitie. So let's go over the forces, starting with the orcs.
So on the orc right flank, there's 2 regiments of Gore Riders. The regiment at the front have the Dwarven Ale. The regiment behind have no artifacts. Then next to those guys is a new unit in the new Cock 18 book, a Crusher. So a little hero individual on a gore, looking to cause some trouble. Alongside them we have a horde of Great Axe, and they've got the potion of the Caterpillar. Next to them, just hiding behind the house, we have a Flagger with the boomstick, and behind him a War Drum. And then the second orc horde, another Great Axe horde with the Brew of Sharpness. So very expensive, but very dangerous. And then we have the forces of nature allies. We have the 1st regiment of Nade Heart Piercers. So these guys shoot 18 inches, piercing 1, and a little bit of regen. We have a 2nd regiment next to the horde of the same, the Heart Piercers. And just in front we have a Beast of Nature with Lightning Bolt 6. A slight gap down to the left flank of the field, we have the Crudger on the Winged Slasher. And we have some Skulks who have done their vanguard. They were initially facing the same direction as the Slasher, but they've pivoted and they've come this way into the terrain because there are some threats on this side that you'll see in a second.
So the fact that all the objectives are at the other end of the battlefield is reflected in this deployment. I think you'll see here only 2 orc units on this flank. Onto the forces of the undead. And on this flank, opposite those vanguarding skulks you can see down here, we have first of all a troop of wraiths, and alongside them is a Revenant King on Undead Worm. It is winged, as you can see, and in addition to that he has the Blade of Slashing. As we move down a bit of a gap again, we come across some more wraiths, and then the first of the undead halfling units. These are Revenant Cavalry. Next to them, Soul Reaver Cavalry with the Potion of the Caterpillar. Next up we have Revenant King just on an undead horse with the Mace of Crushing, and we have a skeleton regiment, again halflings cruelly brought back from the dead to fight for the forces of undead. And we have a bit of a gap here with this wall, and then we have, of course, a zombie legion with the Hammer of Measured Force, backed up by a halfling necromancer with Bane Chant and the Inspiring Talisman. And over on this side we have a horde of werewolves with the Brew of Courage, and you can't have halflings without archers, so skeleton archers. So it's time to roll off for the first turn, and as you know, if you watch any of the highly professional YouTube channels, everyone has a box lid that they roll dice into to stop them flying all over the place. So here we go. And look at that, the undead are going to get the choice. The undead commander elected to allow the combined forces of orcs and nature to go first, and lots of ineffective shooting went off. The skulks, for example, did no damage down here. You can see there's been some repositioning of the slasher has positioned itself, so it is in range of some of the wraiths, but it is facing them. And down here there's been a bit of an advance from the cavalry down here. You can see that they're preparing to engage this side of the undead forces, where the werewolves are behind the archers. Some damage was taken from the shooting attacks. A lightning bolt from the boomstick put some damage onto the skeletons, but not enough to warrant a check yet. And the same applies for the Revenant Cavalry, who took damage from the lightning bolt from the Beast of Nature, but not enough to get them a nerve test yet. So, Undead turn coming up. Another uneventful turn, this time for the Undead. The Revenant King on Worm has just flown right in to threaten those skulks. The Wraiths have positioned themselves around here, in a bit of a pincer movement on that winged slasher over there. And everything else has been a bit of a general advance in the middle. Soul Reavers have gone up into the woods, Revenant Cavalry there, and the skeletons on the other side of the woods. Down at this end, the Necromancer attempted to Bane chant up the skeleton archers, but failed, and then the skeleton archers dished out a couple of damage with their bows to this unit here. So we're going to have a nerve test now. We're looking at an 11 to waver. It's 10. Not quite. Partway into Orc and Nature turn 2, and there's been some shooting, so we're going to do those nerve tests in a minute. Let's just see what we've got going on down here in this contrast between the light and the dark, which isn't really appropriate for this game because there's an awful lot of evil on the table. So you can see here that Mr. Winged Slasher decided he didn't like the look of these wraiths threatening him, so he's gone for those ones, considering them in the least threatening position. Here the skulks have charged into the Revenant King on the Worm. In the centre there's been a bit of an advance, the Beast of Nature has moved up, and down here there's also been an advance. The Orcs are laying down the gauntlet by moving onto the hill with those guys there, and the Crusher has charged into the Skeleton Archers, which is a bold move on his part because he doesn't have any backup at the moment. They're all hanging back there. Some shooting was dished out, no damage done to the skeletons. The Revenant Cavalry though are now up to 8 damage after taking wounds from various shooting attacks from the Heart Piercers and the Beast of Nature's Lightning Bolt. So there is going to be a nerve test coming up for them before we get to combat. So, 9 twice is required to remove this unit. No, not quite. Into the combat phase, and 1 damage was done from the skulks onto the Revenant King on Worm, so a double 6 would be enough to waver him. So, to the roll box we go. No. A very good round of attacks from the Winged Slasher. So 7 damage to the Wraiths, meaning 5 required to kill them. Here we go. Yes, off they go. And in the final combat, the Crusher failed to do any damage to skeleton archers, which means they are still perfectly capable of shooting this turn. Wow. Undead turn 2. We've just started the combat phase. So down here, you can see that the Skeleton Archers didn't move. They wanted to pew-pew off a few more shots into these Orcs, but couldn't do any more damage. Here we've got a double charge, skeletons in the flank, zombies in the front, and the zombies have been Bane chanted by the Necromancer, who is hiding from the Crusher behind the height 2 of the werewolves, who have moved sideways slightly. They have got something in mind, but we'll see what that is shortly, hopefully. In the middle, there was about 1 millimetre in this, but it was only just possible that these 2 cavalry units were able to double charge this horde here. We had to get the laser out to make sure, and after the Revenants had moved in, the Soul Reavers were just able to clip the corner of the unit and therefore take part in this combat because of that Beast of Nature being there. If he'd been a millimetre further down, it wouldn't have been possible. So that could be bad news for them, although the Revenants will be hindered. Down here, these Wraiths moved alongside the Slasher and were then surged into its flank by the Revenant King on horse down there. And round here, the Revenant King on Worm, who wasn't able to fly off because he took damage last turn, he has just countercharged this unit of Skulks, and as you can see he's already done 5 damage to them, so we're going to do the nerve roll right now. So, the Revenant King needs 4 to waver, 6 to kill. 6, so they are toast. Down here, the Wraiths in the flank managed to do 4 damage to the Slasher, so we're going to need double 6 for a waver here. No, double 1 is not quite double 6. The double charge didn't result in that much damage because look at all these Soul Reaver misses. Oh dear, oh dear. So only 9 damage was done in total, which means we need double 6 to waver them. Here we go. Nope, 9. Not enough. Very mixed dice rolls here. So the skeletons only did 1 damage with their flank attack. The zombies didn't do much better in their first batch of rolling, but they did a bit better the second time round. So managed to get them up to 8, which isn't very high, but we can go for that good old double 6 for a waver again. Not quite. Almost. So we're on Orc turn 3, and there's been a lot of charges declared. So down here, the Crusher has got out of the way, because the Gore Riders wanted to get into this flank of the Zombie Legion. The skeletons down here have been charged by the other Gore Riders, just about. And over here, the big Horde has countercharged the Soul Reavers, and the Revenant's been flank charged by Heart Piercers and a Beast. So lots of charges, there's going to be lots of damage dished out, and down at this end, the Slasher went into the Wraiths, and yet again, he did very well, 7 damage again, so he's going to need 5 to toast them. Can he take out 2 units of Wraiths in 2 rounds? Yes, he can, without even another dice. He only needed 1 dice to do it, that's how well he's doing. The Revenant Cavalry have taken quite a bit of damage from the Beast and the Heart Piercers, so they're now up to 13, meaning 4 will get rid of them. Here we go. They are dead. Deader. The Soul Reavers have taken 8 damage from the Horde, meaning a 7 will waver them, and that could be pivotal in this game if they die or become wavered here. Here we go. 7 to waver. Oh. No, they're fine. That could be a big deal there because they do pack a punch.
Hit like a train.
The skeletons have taken 6 damage from the Gore Riders, meaning we need a 10 to remove them.
Wow.
So here we go. No, not quite. The zombies. They have suffered a zillion damage as a result of these 2 attacks. So I think we've actually lost count of how many it is because it's so far over. So anything but double 1s to take out the zombs. No, they're dead. So that's how the units have positioned themselves at the end of all this combat. And it's not looking good for the Undead at the moment. Units down, units being flanked left and right. We'll see if they can turn it round. Undead turn 3. You can see the Revenant King has made his move down there. And he's staying out of the charge range of this beastie here. And he's just threatening the next turn. And in the middle here, Soul Reavers have charged back in there. The skeletons countercharged into the front of these guys. They could have potentially had some surge shenanigans into the flank, but they actually want to be in the front, so they block a potential flank charge into the Soul Reavers here. The werewolves have gone into this horde, while the archers have decided to charge, because they would have had to move regardless. They've charged into this unit of Gore Riders, and they actually did 1 damage. So they've got a chance to remove that unit as well. So, can skeleton archers kill Gore Riders in combat? 10 to waver. Here we go. No, is the answer. The werewolves have chomped down onto this horde and got them up to 14. So because of the presence of the drum at the back there, we need 9 to waver them, 11 to destroy. Nope, 5 again. The Soul Reavers, a little bit disappointing again. They've got these guys up to 15 though, so the presence of the war drum is playing into this yet again. So we need 8 to waver them, 10 to kill. No. The skeletons failed to do any damage to the Gore Riders, so no units killed in that turn, when it could have been pivotal to do some killing, or at least wavering, and nothing was accomplished. So, the Orcs are going to have another go at thinning the Undead ranks before the glorious counter-strike is dealt. So in terms of the scenario, this hill is looking very even at this stage. There's a lot of units within range of it for both sides, and this house is very much under the control of the Orcs at this stage. Orc turn 4, and the Slasher has moved into position to threaten, and as you'd expect, all the counter-charges have gone in, including a beast into the flank of the Soul Reavers. Gore Riders have all gone in, and the Hordes have all counter-charged. And this guy as well, this Crusher, has gone into the flank, or the rear should I say, of the Archers. Not sure he's going to do that much though. And over here, there was lots of shooting, 2 lots of Heart Piercers, and a Lightning Bolt from over there have taken its toll on the Revenant King, who is now up to 8 damage, which is quite unhealthy for him. So, need 10 to waver the Revenant King. Here we go. Not quite. The skeleton archers have taken 15 damage in this combat, so they are nerve 23. We're going to need 8 to remove them twice because the necromancer is in inspiring range. There's 1. Can they get 8 again? Not quite. They just cling on to undeath. So the werewolves have taken 9 damage in this combat here, which was quite a significant amount, but they do have the Brew of Courage, which might help them. So, need 7 to waver them, or 9 twice to destroy. Here we go. Not quite. So, the werewolves are just fine and dandy. The skeletons have taken yet more damage, and they're up to 15 now, with only a nerve of 16. That means double Onesville, but the Revenant King is right here, within inspiring range, so 2 chances to get a double 1 on the skeletons. Here we go. Not this time. And again. Nope, so the skeletons are dead. And the Soul Reavers have taken a ton more damage from this incredibly beefy unit here, and they are now in double 1 town. But again, inspired, so 2 chances for a double 1. Here we go. Not this time. How about now? Ooh, half of it, but not quite. And here we have the final positioning of the Orcs and Forces of Nature. So you can see here that the Horde has swivelled round because it doesn't want to take a flank or a rear from the Revenant King on Worm. They're willing to accept the risk of the werewolves getting into the rear there, and that would spare other units from being attacked as well. So that's a chance they're willing to take. Lots of heavily damaged Orc units, and lots of heavily damaged Undead units. Going into Undead turn 4 now. So, Undead turn 4, and the Revenant King has continued his repositioning, flying all the way around the back of the enemy, and staring into this big blob down here. We've also had some charges. The werewolves nimbled their way around this horde, and charged into the Gore Riders down there, the undamaged unit, because that's pretty much the only spot that they're not going to be attacked by everything next turn. The Revenant King on horse charged into the rear of this horde. And over here, the skeleton archers countercharged into these Gore Riders, and they've actually done 1 damage, so we're going to have a nerve roll for that right now. So, the archers need 9 to waver, 11 to destroy. Here we go. Could do with some good rolls now. 7. So, nope, not enough. The werewolves have inflicted 10 damage onto the Gore Riders. So, the War Drum is nearby though, so that's going to help. 5 to waver, 7 twice to destroy. Wavered. The Revenant King put a few more damage points onto this horde, so he currently needs 4 to waver them, and 6 to kill twice because of the inspiring presence there. So here we go. And actually the way the battlefield is lined up, I actually didn't want to kill this unit, so I would very much like to waver them right now. Here we go. Well, that would kill them, so let's do it again. Must roll under 6. It's very rare you have a situation where you don't want to kill an enemy unit. 6. So they are dead. So now, as you can see, the reason that you didn't want to kill the unit is because this now opens up lanes for instance, the Beast of Nature, who now has a charge opportunity on the werewolves, which is what he was put there to block. But he just did it too well. He shouldn't have charged them, really. He probably should have just moved there instead. We're into the Orc shooting phase now, and, as you can see, sandwich for the skeleton archers again. These 2 units here have just changed facing because they're worried about the Revenant King on Undead Worm up there. Beast of Nature, of course, took that inviting flank charge from the werewolves, and these 2 units turned round to fire at Mr. Revenant King, and he's taken 1 more damage, so we're going to have his nerve roll right now. So he took 2 more damage, so that means 8 to waver the Revenant King, 10 twice to kill. A waver would be enough though, you would think. And he is wavered. 9. The skeleton archers have taken a ton more damage there, so they're now in double 1 town, but they are inspired by the necromancer. So 2 goes to get this elusive double 1. Here we go. Not that time. And again. Nope, so the skeleton archers are toast. The werewolves took 7 damage, so they are in double Onesville. They are inspired though, so here we go. 2 more chances for that double 1. It hasn't come up yet today, but now would be a good time. Not this time.
2, 4.
And again.
2 dots of doubles, but not ones.
So, the only action in Undead turn 5, the Necromancer charged into the rear of this unit, but couldn't do any damage. And the Revenant King did 1 damage to these Gore Riders, so we're going to do a nerve test now. So, because of the War Drum, he's going to need 4 to waver and 6 to kill. Here we go. And they're inspired, so here we go again. Yep, they're super dead. So, Orc turn 6, and you can see here that the Orc Horde has charged into the Revenant King on horse, as has the Beast of Nature. The Gore Riders have charged into the Necromancer, who's got a thirst for blood now, so they want to get him out of the way. And over here, lots of shooting, the Heart Piercers and the Lightning Bolt into poor Mr. Revenant King. What did he ever do to them? He's now in double 1 town, he's on 19 damage. 2 opportunities for a double 1 coming up. Nope. And how about this time? No, he is dead. The Revenant King on horse has taken 11 damage in this combat here, so it's going to need a 3 to waver him and a 5 twice to destroy. And again.
9. 8.
He is toast. And the final undead model, the Necromancer. Is it going to be enough? He's taken 11 damage, which is not very healthy because he is in double 1 town, but he is inspiring to himself. So let's see if we can get that double 1. This could be critical here. Not that time.
Not that time.
Nope. He's super duper dead. So with that, the Orcs have laid claim to this area, rumoured to contain the bones of Sausagemitts McVitie. The undead and their freshly raised halfling skeletons have been sent back whence they came, and they're going to have to devise a new strategy if they want to stake a claim to this region. The Orcs reign supreme, with a healthy amount of units left. In fact, they only lost 3 units, one of which I wasn't even trying to kill. So one of those, a third of the enemy casualties were inflicted by mistake. How embarrassing. Wow, wow. Let's have a look at this undead death pile here. So plenty of corpses that have been corpsed up even more than they already were. And the Orcs. Only 3 units and a banner that snapped off. So I'm going to claim that as a casualty as well, which evens it up a little bit. And I think what it comes down to is poor deployment from the undead, because there was no sound tactical reason for deploying anything anywhere near this side of the table that I can think of, other than not wanting to contest the game in a 2 foot wide space with a manoeuvrable army. That was really the only reason the undead ended up wasting a lot of units, and overrating the fighting quality of the wraiths as well didn't help, because the slasher was able to take them out with ease. The Revenant King on Worm spent the entire game just flying around the back of the table, not threatening people successfully enough because the slasher had evened up the odds in the fly department. So lots of wasted units, and when you combine that with the Soul Reaver cavalry doing terribly and dying before they really did anything, then that equals a lot of points down the drain for undead, which equals loss. So, anything from the Orc General on that?
I think you got quite unlucky with a lot of dice rolls as well. And I got quite lucky with a lot of my dice rolls. So there was that. That double cavalry charge on my horde probably should have broken it. And then that would have made it a different game. But yeah, I think I probably had a bit more on where the objectives were, which helped just at the very end then to swing it. And I was worried about the werewolves with the nimble. So I was trying to let you take, if you charge a horde, maybe that'd be okay, but I was trying to keep you away from taking both the Gore Rider units out, which they're good for. And I think I just about did enough of a job of doing that. But there was a lot of luck on the dices as well.
The werewolves didn't really see enough action.
I kind of kept them out as well as I could, I think.
They were kind of being held in reserve, but I think if anyone could have been deployed over here, perhaps they would have been a candidate. With being nimble as well, they would have had an opportunity to get back into the fight, and they would have stood more of a chance of killing the slasher as well.
Yeah. I'm quite impressed with the Beast of Nature. They're quite good. With the lightning bolt's nice, because you can choose to either just ping off a bit of tasty lightning bolt, or throw them in for a bit of extra support. I think he did quite well.
You can't really ignore them because they can pack a punch at range or in combat.
Yeah. And then the heart pacer units, I like. They're quite expensive, so I don't know if the points could be better spent elsewhere than having 2 of them. But and early on in the game, they don't seem to be able to do much because the range is short on the harpoons. But once it started opening up a bit, I think they were putting your wyvern off quite a bit here. At one point I thought you were going to just charge that wyvern in, but I managed to get some damage on him, and I think that made you think twice.
Yeah, the Undead Worm was terrified of going into combat because he was already heavily damaged and he knew he was going to be charged by multiple units the instant he landed in enemy lines, so he ended up skirting around the back the whole game.
And then at short range, their shooting is quite nice, actually.
It's quite devastating. That horde with the Brew of Sharpness was really tasty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Being able to take out the Soul Reavers.
Yeah, that's a good unit. That it's very expensive. And the thing with the orc, I find the orc hordes, the great axe hordes, they are that expensive. And we're having the slasher in there that I didn't have as much chaff as I would have liked. I only had the 1 trooper skulks. I feel like I need to be able to protect my hordes a little bit better. But it's just fitting everything in's tricky. But that's the same old problem for everybody.
It sure is. What can you squeeze into 2,000 points? It's never quite everything you want.
No.
Right, so let's get a left-handed handshake over this battlefield where there is now nothing but Orc and Nature.